Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Peter, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Just got out of a
Doing
public
well.
safety meeting, and it's like 3 in a row, like 3 strikes or something like that.
Yeah. You are a glutton this day. I thought the open data policy was a really interesting discussion.
Carol, for some reason, I thought you would enjoy that.
Not that I will ever use it.
Oh, no, you'd be surprised. I think, and part of my conversation I had with Tracy and Chief Reynolds about it is that when I deal with getting reports from the police department or to the solicitor's office on criminal matters, it's like pulling teeth. So I'm just wondering how this is going to pan out, dealing with issues that are much more accessible and available to the general
No,
public.
I totally agree with the whole, reasons and the concept. I've always been happy getting my information second and third hand from people who know what they're doing.
Who say they know what they're doing.
I trust them.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I see you.
Have we started yet?
No.
Councilmember Waring, I had a Zoom meeting with the fraternity brothers that want to erect a statue to Dr. Just. And it went very well. Thank you for helping that suggestion. I think that will bear fruit.
Well, good to get time.
Councilman Waring, he called me as well, and I had a long conversation with him. And I got some information, I think, just the other day that supplemented what he was talking about. So very interesting part. And it all kind of fits in with our Charleston 350 commemoration. This is some lost history. It really is some lost history.
That's great. They have a scholarship set up over at Medical University.
I heard that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for meeting with him and talking with him. That's great.
No, it was really a very informative discussion, and he said he didn't mean to keep him on the line so long, but I just kept on popping questions.
That's okay. Well, I'm glad they're stepping up, man, because I'm gonna tell you, they found it. Ernest Just is Ross and Carol's a fraternity brother. It's a Omega Psi Phi is a predominantly African American fraternity, about 100 years old anyway. Ernest Just was one of the founding fathers of that fraternity, but his mother was the person that helped establish the town of Maryville.
Yep.
Yeah. I read the letter the gentleman said. It was fascinating.
Oh, okay. All right, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So about a couple of years ago, they had a regional meeting here, like from several states of Vegas. So I went there and I told him about the park that was coming, and a place where he wasn't born there, but he certainly, part of his rearing was over in the Maryville area. And, something should be said about that history there. I mean, there's a lot of history in there. Yeah, a lot of history. So thanks.
And Councilmember Waring, they had a name for the park. I think it was there used to be a park there. I forget the main corner. I think it was called Innovation Park. This is back when, I remember I read a lot about Maryville because somebody asked me about the historical boundaries. I think it was related to the ordinance that you had proposed about the lot sizes or what have you.
Right. Yeah.
I think Jacob had asked me to look into it, and I read a lot of stuff on Maryville, and it is just, I wish more people knew about it because it's such a rich history.
Listen, when I was a young kid leaving West Ashley to go into town, there was no St. Andrews Boulevard. We'd come down 61, and you know how you veer on Magnolia Road and then take it to Avondale and hit Savannah Highway or 17 and go into the city that way. That's how we used to go into the city when I was a kid. And then St. Andrews Boulevard, bifurcated.
Councilman Waring, you're now showing your age.
But that's a good thing. That's
was it a dirt road? Was it a dirt road,
No.
Councilmember?
It wasn't a dirt road, and we wasn't driving off. We wasn't in horse and buggy either.
You're gonna have to walk in the snow or anything like that.
No, we didn't do
Oh, yeah.
none of that. Man. We didn't do none of that.
All right, I think we're at 3:36. I'm gonna call to order the real estate committee meeting of the city of Charleston on this wonderful, beautiful afternoon of November 23rd, 2020. And Councilwoman Jackson, you have the honors of an invocation or a moment of silence. Please, ma'am.
I think we'll bow our heads and pray for a minute, please. Lord God, we just ask for your presence here today. The responsibilities that our city takes on continue to grow on behalf of our citizens, and we can do nothing without your help in your perfect ways. Bless each of the decisions that we will make today and on into tomorrow as we take on the business of the city. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Man.
All right, beautiful. All right, thank you so much. Okay, the second item of business is the approval on November 9th, 2020 minutes. I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
So move.
The second,
Second.
all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, the ayes have it. All right, so the first item of business, item A, is request the mayor and city council for a quick claim deed of a parcel of land of 90 Cooper Street. Who's going to address that for us today?
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of our real estate committee. What we're requesting of the real estate committee is a quick claim deed of 6.69 feet. That is literally the size of the parcel to the Shamir family. We want to make sure that we have clarity relative to the boundaries of this land as we prepare to construct the James Lewis Jr. apartments. And so that quick claim deed would basically bring clarity and conformity to that area of Cooper Street and thus the property we're seeking to build. And I would ask Chip to add any more legal comments that are necessary. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have any comments, but I'm happy to answer any questions people might have. I will say there's a screw up with the TMS numbers. Apparently there was some error at the supposedly at the county offices. So I will prepare a slight amendment to the ordinance for second reading. Will not change what's being conveyed, but the TMS numbers will be deleted and it'll be the ordinance will just say it's as shown on a survey instead of the TMS numbers. But that, I think that's prepared and sent to Jennifer for second reading, assuming this one goes forward, just to give everybody a heads up.
So are we reaching a new record on the smallest piece of land to be deeded by the city?
I doubt it.
60, you said 60 point what feet?
6.9.
6.69.
6.69. I
Yes,
think
sir.
that may be a record.
That's its widest point.
Not even
Well-
a multi-use path.
Yeah, I move for approval.
I'll
Is there a
second.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? The ayes have it. 6.9 feet. I'm going to make a note of that, Chip, and hold you, see if that's on a record somewhere along the lines. Item B is a request authorization for the mayor to execute a Greenbelt grant agreement with Ross Track, Johns Island Park Extension. Who's going to grab that for us?
So Chairman, should we take 2 and 3, B and C together, please?
We can do that. Is there a motion to discuss B and C together?
I'll move that we discuss and vote on them together.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Ayes have it. We'll consolidate B and C together. So Chip, you would tackle this one for us as well?
No, sir, I'm not sure who's covering this one. Let me.
Chairman Shade, this is Lee Bailey.
Hello,
Matt
Lee.
Compton and I are on the line to discuss these items and answer any questions that you may have. Matt, I don't know if you want to chime in first or if you want me to go
Sure.
over the agreements.
Well,
Reach out.
I'd be happy to give a brief overview and add a very last minute wrinkle that it literally came up this morning. We have applied for grant funding to expand Johns Island Park to the east and a portion of the property that is owned by Anthony Ross out there. It's otherwise developable property. And we have looked at some conceptual uses for this additional land that would benefit the overall functionality of Johns Island Park, as well as some future connectivity with some other developments that are taking place out there. And so we received authorization to apply for the grant earlier this year. We did that, and we have gone through a process of our due diligence. And so we've got our survey work and our phase 1 completed, and everything looks good. When the survey stobs went up last week, it caused the seller to recognize how much of the open field area around his property we were proposing to buy. And he uses that field frequently to support a farmer's market and some church activities. And the last minute change is he wants to know if we can not buy the portion of the field. I mean, it literally is a discussion at 11 o'clock this morning. And it would not have an impact on the proposed uses of the property for the park. And it would not, we would reduce the purchase price commensurately. Without the exact survey data, it's hard to say, but it would be a price reduction of about $196,000. But in order to continue moving this project through the process, if council would see fit to approve this subject to the mayor's approval of the proposed changes, which this is the first time Mayor Tecklenburg is hearing about this this proposed change as well, that we could work out the details and get the property closed. I would add that one of the reasons this at one point there was a car wash that was proposed to be on a portion of this open lawn space. That is no longer happening, and with the purchase of the park parcel, it enables the seller to satisfy a note that he had on the property that was related to his late wife's extensive cancer treatments. And so with the originally the car wash deal was going to handle that. Now the park deal allows him to address that. And that then gives him the opportunity to keep this open field to support the community efforts that he does out there, both with the farmer's market and with his church.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
I will move for approval on the conditions that Matt is explaining to us about the reduction of the land. I do have a couple of questions after a second.
Okay. So the motion is to approve both item B and C. Is that your motion?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll second that. I have a couple of questions, but go ahead, Councilwoman.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess the first questions that come to my mind are about the change of scope, let's just call it. So if the gentleman wants to retain what you're calling the open field, will we be concerned about a future use? Do we have to put some sort of easement condition on it or something like that to retain it as a benign use, as he's telling us is his reason for wanting to hold on to it?
Well, in order to do that, we would have to acquire an easement on that, which might be something that he would entertain, but would not be covered by the current grant. What we could do is we could approach him about putting a development, whatever the correct term is, the easements that they have on that, if that's something that we wanted to look at. It won't affect the proposed uses of the park space, and if it were to be developed, they would have to have the buffers adjacent to the park on that parcel. So it wouldn't be a negative to what our conceptual uses are for the site.
How much land do you think he's talking about?
It's about 1.12 acres, if my math is right.
So that could be a sizable commercial use if he would change his mind over the years, or his heirs.
Right. Well, and it's certainly, but because we would not be purchasing the property, we'd be reducing our purchase price by the $175,000 per Highland acre. That's the appraised value. We would, we could certainly talk to him about having a development rights on it, or potentially even submitting a a separate grant to purchase all of the open field and maintain it as open space. But a good portion of that, particularly as you get closer to the street, is currently zoned commercial. So the price per acre goes up as you get closer to Maybank Highway.
Some sort of right of first refusal to purchase it back if, or, you know,
Yeah,
go ahead with the full amount.
I think he probably would certainly, I mean, that would be easy to put into the agreement.
All right, I'll stand down for other questions.
Thank you. Anybody else have a question? Councilman Waring?
Yeah, I do. I mean, so right now he's under contract to sell this. In other words, is it an exit if he doesn't want to sell it and we still want to buy the whole thing and just give him an easement for the uses that he like to have?
I would have to defer to Lee on that one.
Lee? Ms. Bailey?
So I guess I guess the question really is, Matt. I mean, Matt met with the owner and his realtor today. I guess the main concern is that it doesn't sound like he is open to that. Is that correct, Matt?
Well,
I mean, it sounds like, does he only want to proceed if we're willing to let him retain that 1.12 acre for the open field, or what do you think? Is this up for discussion with him?
I think it may be up for discussion. And to clarify, I met with Millard Smith. I didn't meet with Mr. Ross.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought he was there too. Okay.
No,
so Matt spoke with his realtor this morning.
Right.
But I mean, do we actually have a consummated contract?
So the purchase agreement is an agenda item. It's item C on the agenda today.
We don't have a contract yet. The motion is to authorize the mayor to enter into the contract.
Okay.
But I understand your question, Councilman Waring, is that if I'm phrasing this right, what's proposed does not have that change that Matt was talking about, which was retain some usage for him, give him more options. So we would have to amend the contract on the purchase agreement.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because what's in front of us right now does not include that caveat that Matt had talked about.
That's correct.
Yes, sir. Because we just found out about it today.
And the reason for retaining that exception is based on what? What was his rationale?
As I understand it from Millard Smith, he realized once the survey stakes went up how transferring that property or selling that property to the city was going to impact his ability to host the farmers market that he does out there and the church ball field activities that he does out there. Since the car wash project has gone away and he's not losing that piece of the open field, he'll be left with, about a 2 acre open area that's somewhat rectangular. And then the little piece that we were looking at is it's a square roughly of about 200 by 220, somewhere in that range. It's slightly trapezoidal, but it's an open space that's right behind his office. And in his the plan that he had developed with the proposed car wash development, he was looking at a veterinarian's office to be constructed in that open area when he was, I guess, had accepted that he was going to get rid of all of the open space in order to satisfy the note that he had on the property. But as with the city buying the park parcel, it then gives him the flexibility to keep the open space and continue his community support activities while he's able to satisfy the note that he has on the property. So as I understand it, he intends to continue to use it for community work, but we don't have that in writing. We don't have an easement to that effect, but we could certainly go back and ask for something like that.
Mr. Chair, Matt, so the way you're describing it, he will always, he's going to retain frontage on Maybank, right? You said like 2 acres, that's rectangular. And then the strip that he wants to remove from the sale is behind that. So we weren't talking about getting the frontage out of this deal, right? To control the frontage.
That's correct. He he has his parcel with his office building on it is about 1.4 acres. And then the parcel that the car wash was going to go on is about 1.7 to 1.8 acres. And the piece that we were going to buy of the open field was about 1.1 to 1.2 acres. And so our deal with him is for a total of about 11.5 acres. And if we opt not to purchase this open field, it would reduce us to about 10.3 acres, which would still allow us to do what we think we want to do with that property. There would be, the open field was just going to be open field. So it's not a detriment to the proposed park use. And there is an opportunity that we could go back and secure either an easement or outright ownership of the open field area with a future application through the Greenbelt program, if that's something that council wanted to pursue.
Okay.
Thank
I
you,
think
Matt.
We never had access to Maybank through the
Yeah,
property.
that's what I'm remembering now, Mayor. Thank you.
So this, as Matt said, is news to me as well. Regardless of the size being 11.25 or 10, it's still adjacent to the park, and hence something that I think that we should pursue. Even if we were to agree with the seller to reduce the size and hence the price a little bit. Frankly, I was expecting to purchase the whole property, and we just have to talk to the seller about it. Maybe if we agreed to we bought the whole thing and then agreed to let him have farmer's market and a church events there, that would not bother us maybe.
No, that'd be nice.
We'll explore it with him from both sides and see what is in his best interest. But regardless, we certainly want to continue the ability to execute a contract with him and buy as much of it as we can, in my opinion.
I agree 100%.
Me too.
No, Councilmember Waring, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that, Mr. Mayor. As a matter of fact, if you all were to go back early into the year, this year, you remember this was kind of tied to the old pig site down in Fair Point, Mr. Mayor. Remember
That's right.
Collaboration between the county, the city, and St. Andrews PSD to put a public use on that site. And of course, county council, we wanted to get this site because it's next to, Mr. Compton, how big is our park there? Something like 14 acres or something like that, 14, 15 acres? The existing park.
It's about 32 acres.
Oh, 32 acres.
Yes.
So it gave us a chance to expand the footprint adjacent, to expand our property lines. It's just a wonderful opportunity that this is the second part of the deal. We did the deal out on in Fair Point for that part. And even if we get, 10, not 11, I'd vote to give the mayor flexibility to work that one out. I think we move forward with this.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any further discussion about this? We can call them.
I agree with Councilmember Waring. My question that I wrote down, knowing these items were coming before us, was just to put out there maybe the mayor can just ballpark. What does this look like for the city's opportunities to apply for additional Greenbelt funds under the same, structure? I know that people are continuing to be concerned about that because people have great ideas that they want us to take hold of. So we just should, put that out there for the record, Mayor, that, we're going to do this one, but it doesn't preclude us considering other great opportunities as we keep on going with the Greenbelt program.
Right. Well, over time, we should have more funds available to us per agreement with the county, that they're open for applications again through the end of January. And I met with Jason Kronsberg about that the other day to review other applications that we might make. I will caution that based on the purchases of the last couple of years, we in no way have reached our total limit over the lifetime of the fund, but I guess the county's saying we kind of have knocked already on the door of what's allocated for right now. So it may impact their deliberations on our applications for this round. But they've got some extra money in it from,
Right.
you know, that hadn't been spent from other areas of the county, I guess. So it really is more of a decision of county council.
I think we just need to address the question before us right now, and that is to give the mayor authorization to use these Greenbelt funds and then to enter into this agreement. So there's a motion made, a second. I'm gonna call the vote. All those in favor of approving A and B, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any
B and C.
It's B
D
and
and
C.
C.
Yes.
B and C.
D and C. Boeing and Charlotte. Yes.
Right.
All right. Any opposed? The ayes would have it. And then we will go back to Councilmember Jackson's questions and the question from Councilmember Waring and the comments from the mayor dealing with the ability to maybe expand the whole entire parcel to have control over it. Or as Matthew had mentioned earlier about whether or not we need other easements on this to sort of tighten this up a little bit more based on that new development. So those would be the voice of council on that. All right.
All right.
Sounds good.
That sounds good. No annexations. I'm disappointed in you gentlemen. There's no annexations.
I know Ross is slipping over there, man.
I mean, we've eaten up all of our donuts over in District 11 pretty much
really?
in James Island. So working on James Island, that's a whole nother deal.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. You
coming up. So while I've got y'all on here, Mr. Mayor, we had decided a couple of meetings ago to put together this task force on the archaeology discussion. We haven't done anything about it, and I'm gonna go ahead and get that cranked up with your to put those folks on there. I think we wanted somebody from the Charleston Museum and from the Gullah Geechee committee organization on there as well. And that's something we just need to get moving in the direction. So maybe not the end of this year, but beginning of the January on the fresh start, we'll get that operating.
I'm just curious, all the pylons and going-ons of the new hotel there, you know, adjacent to Waterfront Park.
Right.
Anybody found any cannonballs over there? Anybody know?
No, but Councilman Waring, I will tell you this, that I was looking at my grandfather's naturalization papers, and I called and talked to Councilman Gregory when I read that article a couple of Sundays ago about the hotel. I think it was called the Hotel James on Spring Street.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
Well, so the interesting fact is the street address of that location is 238 Spring Street. My grandfather, when he was applied for be a naturalized citizen, he lived at 236 Spring Street, right next door to that property.
Is that right?
Right.
So it was, I think it was just, that was sort of the outskirts of the city still in 1910 at that time. And, us Lebanese were out there on the hinterlands of the city of Charleston back in the early part of the 20th century.
Huh.
I thought it was an interesting that you brought that up. It was just an interesting coincidence that my grandfather lived in that. And I'm trying to do some research to see what kind of structure was there at the time.
I remember, a lot of people still remember the James Hotel.
Yeah.
Kind of like right there where, where the McDonald's is now.
McDonald's is-
Right.
Right over in that area. And then they used to have Esau Jenkins, Mr. Esau Jenkins' family had a little restaurant there, Mr. Mayor, next to it. The name of it was Little Egypt was the name of it.
Really?
And it was, and that was in between, where the Arby's was and, the McDonald's is. Used to be a little parcel right in between, and that's where that restaurant was.
See, I told you Councilman Warren is showing his age on all this historical.
Listen, the Postal Courier some while back did some stories on that, and they had all these cars and stuff parked out there. Like you can imagine cars parked out in front of, I guess, Charleston Place.
Yeah,
They had cars
right.
and stuff parked out. It was a big business area over there at the time.
Yeah.
African American business community at the time. Yeah,
Very
you're right.
prosperous.
So, but let me ask this: did you all read in the paper yesterday about the tax situation in Colombia? You'll read that article. I'm gonna forward it to you all. They are experiencing a reverse in growth because in downtown Columbia because the taxes are so high, which is true. We sold an office building in Columbia April of last year, and I can tell you the taxes in the city of Columbia is almost double what they are in the city of Charleston. Tax rates, property tax rates,
I did
and
see.
and it's a percent. It's 1.5 times the taxes in Greenville. I mean, they got a huge problem. I mean, can you imagine property taxes being almost double what they are in the city of Charleston? People are beginning to develop over in West Columbia and Casey, not to develop in downtown and Richland County and city of Columbia. So I'm gonna forward that to you all. I found it interesting reading in yesterday's paper. So we got for municipality. Major municipality. We got some of the lower tax rates in the state.
That's right.
A little known fact is probably known by the 5 of us.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you brought it up.
No and tell.
Sir?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna forward that article because I downloaded it and sent out to you guys.
Councilmember Rappel, you've been awful quiet. You're not
I know,
going down
man.
memory lane with us on old dirt roads in West Ashley.
Yeah, I'm just gonna bank my words for a future meeting and just really give it to y'all good in an upcoming committee meeting.
All right.
I'll give it to you easy on this one.
See,
I think y'all deserve
we had environmentally sensitive dirt roads. Now y'all came and y'all paved everything.
That's right.
Hey, Bethany, before we're going to adjourn in a few seconds, but don't shut me out. I need to test something real quick while I've got the Zoom platform. Yep. Can you just keep me alive for a few more seconds?
I can do that.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Seeing there's no further business, I'm going to adjourn this meeting, and I'll see some of y'all in about 30 minutes.
All right, see you at 4:30.
I give you 30 extra minutes, Councilmember Waring.
Thank you.
You got me on this one, man. You got me.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Yeah.
Councilmember Shade, we are still live. I can't stop that until I end the meeting.
I just want to do something real quick on sharing screen. So if you, I just want to, well, I've got it, take advantage of this. So let me figure out how I can do this. See, that's why I've got you here to help me. I'm trying to share something from my computer on a document.
There you go.
I don't want to do that.
Well, you're sharing your screen.
I'm sharing my screen. I got to find the document that I want, though. Thanks for being patient.
Absolutely.